And your filmography also includes films like Dawn and all, like commercial films and like highly content-oriented films. So, is there any like in commercial films? Do you get angry that?
Yeah, I mean, I was doing Don 2 and Tare Zameen Par at the same time. And
Yeah,
that was like wearing two different hats and becoming Jekyll and Hyde because they were two
yeah,
completely different things.
hmm.
Yes, sir.
Uh, yeah, one was hardcore
Commercial theater
commercial and the other
experience.
wasn't. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But at the same time, to me, both of them, they were two different genres.
yeah,
Yes,
But
sir.
to me, I was telling stories of with sound for both and doing, they were just different ways of telling a story.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
And the Ungracy Medium film, I want to talk about that film. It's Irfan's last film, and you worked on that film. So, do
Yeah.
you have any memories interacting with him and the film, seeing the
Oh my God.
rushes?
Oh my God. So many, so many, so many. There were days when he was so weak that the sound wasn't okay, and I had to ask him to dub some of those.
Hmm.
Oh,
He did call me when he saw the film,
Hmm.
and he said, "Yeah, Nakul, to Kamal ka kaam kiya hai is pe," and I mentioned you,
Hmm.
but the newspapers will cut this out of the interviews because they don't know how to keep things like this. It's unimportant to them.
Hmm.
But he said, without Homie, Anil, and you, this film could never have been made.
Hmm.
Because
yeah,
I worked with him before. We had all worked with him before. We knew him.
Yeah.
yes,
We
sir.
understood his condition.
Yes,
And
sir.
Homie was initially send someone, why do you want to come? And I said, no, there has to be someone who can empathize with him. And I could hear him when I put a mic on him. I could hear him. I could hear his pain. I could hear when his stomach was going to go. I could hear his heartbeat. And I would tell Homie, we can do one more take maybe, or don't do any more.
Oh,
And we all collaborated to make this film work by trying to make it as much fun for him.
Hmm.
yes, sir.
So while there was a lot of laughter on set, I was also, my headphones were kind of like a stethoscope because I could hear how much pain he was in it, and that's when I would say no more or stop.
Hmm.
Oh,
And he would say, "Nahi, chal yaar, ek aur karte hain."
Hmm.
There were certain scenes where he didn't have the strength to stand, so he would just change it where he'd walk in and sit.
oh,
So it was really difficult to do, but what a phenomenal man. What a phenomenal
oh,
actor. But more than that, what a phenomenal human being.
yes.
Yes.
So yes, lots of memories from Ungracy Medium.
Hmm.
Yes, sir.
Lots of laughter as well.
Yes,
Because that's the only way it worked, was to let him have a good time and forget about, his illness.
yeah,
Yes.
yes, sir. So so how, in India, especially in India, when we are, when you are shooting with big budgets and all, the actors also, there's, always some input over directors, big actors like the Khans and, all of them. They have some inputs of their own, and they are like over the top of the director. So how how you manage to cope up with that and everything, when the actors interfere, like I don't want this or I don't want that, or in the creative process and everything.
Well, if it's changes to the script, then I mention it. If it's a completely different, that's between the director and the actor. Really, not. I won't answer that because the actors also, the Khans, and as you said, they have been around for a long, long time, so they do know what they're talking about as well.
Hmm.
Yes, sir.
I think two of them are more. Well, Salman is obviously completely. He doesn't do films which are not commercial.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Shahrukh does a little bit of commercial, and Shahrukh is always okay. He's always open to opinion. Amir is open to opinion as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they might feel very strong on certain things. In Rangde, I think there are a couple of times where Amir said, "Yeah, please don't say cut.
Hmm.
Oh,
Let it go on because it's And I said, yeah, of course. I mean, I
Huh.
understand that, like, it's, if you're on a thing and even if I miss a word or if there's a noise or whatever, let it go on, because this is the scene with Alice when he breaks down.
Yes, sir.
I wouldn't have cut on a scene like that, because I would, in fact, I spent 2 days trying to make sure that there was no sounds, extra sounds coming from outside, and getting the production and the assistant directors to lock it up so that it was good enough.
Yes.
And
So
how
it's all about
was,
planning and doing that.
yes,
So, in your filmography, you have also worked in, you also worked for Hollywood and all, and then you started your sound career. You studied sound in Los Angeles, in America. So, how is it like? Was it difficult for you to make the transition in India, because you had seen the real sound, how they work in America, because in America they all lay the groundwork for sound, they all respect sound. And at that time, when you came back to India and you were doing, you started the journey in Bollywood. So was it difficult for you to get that transition done from
Well, actually,
from
as I said,
that?
in America, I was studying sound,
hmm,
not film and not cinema.
Yes, sir.
yeah,
So I was studying to
Yes,
be in
sir.
studio. So there was no connection between the two. But then when I came back, then I started doing a lot of advertising, which was bread and butter.
Yes,
And advertising
yes,
was very different from creative cinema. I mean, from cinema. Advertising was very different from cinema. First case was doing scores on a few projects of background. The first one which I did was Rock, which had Amir in it, which was Amir's first film.
okay.
So I've known
yes,
Amir
sir.
since back then.
Hmm.
And the second one was Bekhudi
Oh,
for Rahul Patel, which had Saif and Kajol in it.
Hmm.
So I worked on the
okay, sir.
background score for that. And then
Oh,
the third one was when I was mixing the original Kingfisher commercial. For Mukul
Hmm.
Anand.
Yeah.
And that's when Mukul said, "You're wasting your time. You're going to be my mixer." And that's how I got on to Thus.
oh,
Yes.
And that was Shankar Esa and Loy. And we actually went and shot in America, and then he had a heart attack and died, unfortunately.
Hmm.
But that would have been my first commercial film.
Yeah. And sir,
oh.
you have done Sense8 kind of series and all. So now,
Yeah.
how is it working on this new platforms, Netflix and series, different stuff?
Well, actually, I now have a new job.
Yeah. Okay.
I've become a corporate. I'm not sure if you know that or not.
Okay.
So I actually work for Netflix
Yeah.
as a sound specialist in their creative technologies and imaging team.
Okay.
So my
Oh,
job here is to teach and make sure that people understand what we at Netflix want from them. So that's a completely different thing. Yeah.
Okay.
so sir, you have had a very big career and everything. So at your start of the career and still now, who was the one sound designer, or who was the one sound recordist that inspired you in your career, that inspired to keep going and keep achieving the goal, keep achieving better sound with every film?
I think that comes from within, the desire to always improve.
Hmm.
But if there was one person, it would be Walter Murch,
Yeah. Editor.
Yes.
who I look up to.
Hmm.
But there's
Oh,
so many fabulous people who do sound. I mean, Ben Bird, Gary Wrightstrom, all those guys, masters of their craft.
yes, sir. So, what would you like to, tell a 20-year-old boy who is just starting up and who wants to pursue a career in sound in today's world? What would your, one advice that you would
Tips.
like to pass on?
I guess my advice for a 20-year-old who's starting off in sound and wants a career in sound is make sure that you really want to do sound. You can make a living very easily doing other things.
Yeah.
Unless you've got a passion for it, don't get into it, because you're underpaid, overworked,
Yeah.
unappreciated. So unless that it really matters to you, don't do it.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And as you said before, tell a story, in terms of job.
Yeah.
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 Yes.
Yeah. And is there any working style difference, like when you are working on a American production and an Indian production? So, is
Yes,
there
there is one huge difference is the pre-production which goes into Hollywood films
Yeah.
versus Bollywood. Just as an example, on Bollywood films, I'd normally have 3 to 4 GB of data per day,
Yeah.
which I would give to DIT or edit.
Hmm.
Oh.
On Hollywood productions, I normally give 20 GB at lunch and another 20 GB at the end of the day.
Oh my God.
So think in terms of if in a day you would shoot for 45 minutes in a Bollywood film, the rest of the time being lighting, discussion, whatever.
Yes.
On a Hollywood film, for 45 minutes, you wouldn't be shooting because you were moving to another location. Once you get in there, you're expected to know your job. Everyone knows they're prepared. It's already worked on in advance, and it's bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
Just executing.
Yeah. So that I think is, to me, that was what blew my mind the first time, just knowing the amount of difference of the data being given in.
Yeah.
Yes.
10 times the amount of data. Hey, that's crazy. Think about it.
Yes.
Yes. So they also need to, listen the sound. Like, while you were, doing the sound on location, I have seen some of the directors. They required some, like, they require a headphone with them on the monitor, and they say, I want to
All
listen to the sound.
directors, I always give directors, we always give them an IEM feed so that so that they know what they're getting, and B, then later on they won't say, oh, but this you didn't tell me. So you give it to them and you tell them, did you hear that? Is that okay with you?
Yes.
It also helps them. I think now they've gotten used to it where, well, I think most of the directors I worked with trusted me to be the final years on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, more and more you need to give it to continuity, to production, to script supervisors, to continuity supervisors, to the director, to assistant directors, to producers. Yeah, it's become a thing now where you do have to set up a perfect mix for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in terms of managing the data, has there been any time that you didn't have a backup, or generally the youngsters have a problem with managing data and file
Well,
getting
actually, now
corrupted?
that comes, that is part of the DIT team's job to do.
Mhm.
But for me, I've always kept 3 things of data, 3 different backups.
Backups, yeah, because in today's times, youngsters always, the file gets corrupted or they don't have a backup and things like that. Yeah.
If they are, that I think is very extremely unprofessional, and if that's the case, they shouldn't be on the job.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
It's as simple as that. It's a basic
Yes.
requirement. I won't even begin to argue about this. It's just something which needs to be done. End of story.
Yes.
Yes. When we talk about sound, so there's a lot of different departments in sound. When we talk about film sound only, there's sound design, there's sing sound, there's a film mix
Foley,
and everything,
another thing.
poly and everything. How would you, how would you tell a layman that this was departments are there in the film sound, in the department of sound?
It's not just music.
Well,
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, I understand what your question is, that you want me to say that so sound is comprised of a production mixer who captures the dialogue on location.
Yes, sir.
That then goes to a dialogue editor who does the cleanup and edits the dialogue.
Yeah.
You have a sound effects editor who cuts in the sound effects of the film. You have a Foley artists and Foley editors who do all the movement in the film. You have a background music score composer and editor and mixer who does that. You have a dialogue mixer, and finally you have a re-recording mixer. So it's there's a variety of subheadings under that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir,
Perfectly,
yes,
sir.
yes, completely.
But at the other end of the scale, there's also that you have all these departments, but the point is that if they're telling the story correctly, they should not be, you shouldn't be able to hear it. It should be seamless so that you don't think you're hearing it. It should be part of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just feel
Yes.
it. Yeah.
When I see a Hollywood film and when I see a Bollywood film, if we compare both of the film, I see a lot of difference between the dynamics. With Bollywood, I see lot of high end dynamics and use of very high frequencies and all. So
Loud. Yeah.
why is that?
Levels, I think you're
Yeah.
saying.
It's too
Yeah.
loud. Yeah.
Yes, sir, level. Yes, sir. It's too like Bollywood films are like more in the loud section. So why is that?
I think a lot of it comes from insecurities.
Okay.
And a lot of it has to do with theater mein mera make mine sound larger than the last one you did.
Yes.
That is traditional Bollywood problem, I think.
Yes, sir.
I have, on the other hand, gone the other way completely where, oh, your mix was so soft, but it's telling a story. It doesn't need to be loud. I can't have a Finding Fanny screaming all over the rooftops, or an Ungracy Medium couldn't be screaming over the rooftops.
Yeah.
It just needed
Yes, sir.
to be pleasant and
Yes,
engaging.
sir.
I think the newer batch of directors is understanding this.
Hmm.
Yes, sir.
The younger directors are aware of this.
Yes, sir.
We don't need it this loud. Everything. It shouldn't be fighting for attention every second of 2 hours. It's tiring when you do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's
yes.
the traditional
So like
way
that-
it's happened. Yeah.
Yeah, sir. And while
Yes.
projecting a film, like when we go to a particular theater, the sounding is different, and the TV sound is different, and even in theaters, when you go to a couple of theaters, the sounding is different. So, can there be a way where we can optimize the levels of sound, like similar,
Well, in the old days when there was Dolby 5.1, Dolby used to cover that.
yeah.
With DCP, that's gone out of the window. There is no governing body anymore.
Hmm.
At Netflix, we have got a governing for OTT.
Okay.
There's a huge difference between mix levels, which we recommend at Netflix, and then from what is happening in theatricals.
Yeah.
So, yes, it is very
Yes,
different between OTT and theatricals.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I think we have covered all
Yeah.
the like basics of many topics.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, sir. Thank you for joining us in this
So-
wonderful
Yes,
conversation.
sir. So okay.
It was a great
you.
learning experience, and I believe that it would be informative for the audience about sound design.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Hi.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving us the time.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah.
Thank
An
you so much.
honor for us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir.